This is Casey Carpenter from the Sales Breakthrough Coach, and you're listening to The Speaking Show with David Newman.
Casey Carpenter is here, selling sociably. Welcome, 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 my friend.
Thank you so much. You know that I am one of your greatest fans, so it is fantastic to be here with you.
Here on the Little Speaking Show, Well, let's talk about, I want to just tackle the elephant in the room right out of the gate. Most speakers, most consultants, most trainers, most coaches, sell is a 4-letter word. They just hate it. They're scared of it. They don't get it. And of course, without selling, not much happens in terms of revenue and being an entrepreneur. So let's unpack that fear. I know you handle this with your clients and your audiences and your workshops. How do we just address that right out of the gate?
Yeah, really great thing to start with. I mean, first of all, why do we feel this way? I think we feel this way because sales is typically something that has been done to us. We have not been willing participants. Think about, a nice dinner with your family and the phone rings. Well, who is it? It's probably some obnoxious person calling to wrestle and twist your arm and make you take something, and they're relentless and they don't let go. So I feel that we almost have a knee-jerk response in so not wanting to be that horrible, obnoxious person where we don't listen well and we're just over talking. We kind of overshoot and go the absolute other way. And we don't ask for the business, and we're not assertive, and we don't show up with value. And I think that's what's happening. That's frequently what I see in a lot of my clients. In addition, they don't have the language. They don't know what to say. So there are many awkward speed bumps, if you will, in their whole sales dialogue because they're uncomfortable, they're squirming. It's almost a palpable, disgusting feeling. So nobody wants that, right?
No, nobody does want that. Well, and then Casey, does this get worse if we are the product?
Oh, does it get worse? Yeah, a brilliant coach who is on the other end of this line said to me when I first launched, very often you can sell someone else's stuff 1,000,000 times better than you can sell your own. And I thought, oh, what's that mean? Oh, no way. Totally correct. Because when I went out to market my own business, my own shingle, I suddenly froze because I equated my own value and who I was with my product. So even if I showed up at a networking event, I felt as though, oh my gosh, they're looking at me, they're evaluating me, they're looking at my clothes, they're listening to my words. And if that doesn't line up with my product and who I say I am, then I've failed. So guess how many millions of dollars of insurance products I sold? I cannot even count. But when it came to my own stuff, so to speak, tons of fear.
Well, let's talk about this because I'm sure folks would love to know how you came to do what you're doing today. Paint the picture of that kind of professional journey, the jobs, the careers that led up to where you are today. And then we'll talk more about where you are today and how you can help folks get over some of this craziness.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that question. And first, we'll do away with another elephant. I am a reformed wallflower. I am one of the biggest introverts you will ever meet, ever on this planet. I had so much to overcome when it came to getting into business. First of all, being naive, being afraid to ask people questions because I felt as though it were impolite and I was prying. All kinds of things I had to overcome. I had to learn so much about business because I didn't know different industries and I felt very behind the 8 ball and very naive. So I had a lot of catching up to do. I did this by sitting with some people who were, the hot shots, the good people on the sales team. How do you say it? How do you do it? What do you say when you're closing? Because I'm sweating. There's a pool of sweat going down my back because I'm terrified. Here is something that you can always count on, a process. And I know that you believe this yourself. When in doubt, establish a process or follow what it is that they're telling you at the office or borrow from what you've learned. My sales process that I use today, I learned back 30 years ago when I was carrying a briefcase and cold calling, knocking on doors in the city of Newark. When you have a process to stand on, even if you are terrified, even if you're at a boardroom table and all of the board members of the corporation are there, the CEO, the CFO, if you've got a process, you can always fall back on your process. It will not let you down. So that certainly is one thing that I've done and I still espouse and I still teach. What can a process look like? A process can be a script. Scripts have gotten dirty words, wouldn't you say? I mean,
Oh,
a
for
dirty
sure. For
reputation.
sure.
Yeah, because we think that they're salesy and canned and horrible. A script can simply mean it's something that you like saying because the words resonate with who you are. They might demonstrate your authenticity. So a script can be, hey, I like saying it that way. Hey, the last time I said it that way, I closed a deal. Or hey, this has been working for me. So guess what? That's a process. Use it. It works for you. Don't be afraid to use these things that work. I don't know. I think in this age of technology, we feel like we have to come up with all this whiz bang stuff. It can be very simple. And as a matter of fact, if I can bring this out for you right now, why don't I wrote a book. The book happens to be called Introverts in Sales, Turn Your
Nice.
Peaceful Power into a Profitable Selling Machine. In this book, we can see that triangle. There are three things that I teach: confidence, systems, and mindset. And when we cultivate all three of those things, they give us so much presence, posture, confidence when it comes to selling. So you asked, where did I work? I swear I stumbled into sales because I had run into a former coworker who made an incredible transformation. This woman literally went from wearing jumpers and sneakers to business suit, patent leather pumps, and a briefcase. And yes, I'll admit, I am a little shallow. I do look at what women wear, and I was really impressed. I said, what the heck did you do? You literally transformed. And she said, I'm a district manager now. I got into sales. Get into sales. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get into sales. So literally, David, I mean, the exchange was 10 minutes, but it changed my life. I got into sales, but what I did not know was to find a company that had a product that you like selling. Ahem, I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. And I didn't resonate with the training. I left there and found another opportunity where I got the mentoring and the coaching and the training I needed. I had people helping me, this is how you handle an objection. Literally, we'd go around the room and we'd practice the words. What is that? That's scripting. And I had the best support that you can imagine. So these are the things that built upon my career in insurance, which I sold for over 20 years. How do you ask a customer to go to lunch? I said to my manager one day, I'd like to take them out, but I don't know what to say. And, it was again a great environment. She didn't laugh. She said, oh, I simply say, would you like to do it over lunch? That became part of my lexicon, if you will, my scripts, my dialogue. So I kept saying that, and customers said, yes, I'd love to have lunch with you.
Were you also pushing the envelope, Casey, and maybe sometimes doing breakfast?
Yeah.
Hey, boss, how do I ask them if I want to take them to breakfast instead of lunch? I mean, this is so funny. I want to totally get back to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
confidence, the system, and the mindset. But when you don't have the mindset or the confidence, you're asking these really obvious questions, right? And it's like, dude, how do you think you ask them to breakfast? How do you think you ask them to lunch? But I love the fact that she never belittled the question and she always helped you with even the simplest answer.
Yes. And this is what I'm hearing over and over and over with the clients that I help. They don't know what to say either. So isn't it nice that they have a soft place to land, if you will, where they may say, I was in this really awkward situation last week and the conversation stalled. What could I have done? And I might have said, well, did you do your research before you went in? Yes, I did. Okay. What might have been a really impactful question you could have asked? How could you have helped the conversation to continue? And then they get insights.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to go back to your training methodology because we're just going to be skipping around, doing all kinds of crazy
Yeah.
stuff. I think these are the three most important things. I mean, you just totally nailed it with your book and with your philosophy. But I'm even trying to figure out which one would come first. It's almost like a chicken or the egg, right? Because, first you have to have confidence. Well, what's going to give you confidence? Well, probably having a system. And what's going to make you have a good system? Well, having a mindset that if I have a good system, I can sell. Well, how do you get a good mindset? Well, that all starts with confidence. And then it just goes around and around and around. So if someone is just sitting there listening to us right now, and they are a sales confidence mess or the sales performance mess, they say, Casey, above and beyond running out immediately to buy your book, which one of these three things should I then immediately start to work on? Does it start with confidence? Does it start with a system? Does it start with mindset? Or how do we start getting traction in one so we can add the other two?
Yeah. So, of course, in having to write this book, I had to pick one, right? I picked mindset first because in my world, mindset is everything. And 95% of what we do every day is driven by the subconscious mind. We are running around doing things very often and we don't even know why. So having more awareness as to what we're doing and why we're doing it helps. Now, certainly, and actually the chapter is called Cultivating a Sales Champion's Mindset. So yeah, we start with the why. Why do you want to do this? What is in it for you to be a top seller, a top salesperson? What motivates you? And then breaking it down so that every day we're living in this very positive mindset. When I was studying with you some years ago, there was something I learned from you that was really important. And it was about showing up with posture and watching our language, watching our words, and not falling into this contagion of false modesty that's running around out there. Like, oh, I really messed that up. Oh, I really stink. People are saying things like that to get attention. I say, get rid of that. Kick that to the curb. It is not going to serve you when you're trying to learn something new. Simply because your subconscious mind may not know when you're kidding. It can't take a joke. So be very intentional with your words. Be very intentional with your language, even if you don't believe it. Hey, Muhammad Ali didn't believe he was a champion all the time, but he would say, I am the greatest, right?
Self-reinforcing beliefs, right?
Hello, be the same. Say, you know what? I can do this. I can lead a sales dialogue. I can be the leader that my clients are looking for. Then once you bolster confidence, and I go into it a lot more in the book, I talk about identifying what you do well. Maybe it was something you had to learn. And how did you get there? Did you study? Did you test yourself? Did you ask for help? I talked about riding a bicycle and being 11 years old when I learned to ride because I had been so scared before I'd fall off and I'd stop. And there was this one day I was determined, dang it, I'm going to ride this bike. And I said, did the other kids laugh at me? You better believe they laughed at me. But I didn't care by then. I kept going. It takes grit. It takes stick-to-itiveness. But after a while, you cultivate that rhythm and you're like, hot damn, I got confident in this one thing. And then keep doing it. Do it again. Do it again. Right?
Yeah.
How did you get to be the guru who you are? I bet it was pretty ugly and nasty in the beginning, but you kept going.
You don't want to know. You don't want to know about the beginning. It was a very ugly, very nasty in the beginning.
Yeah, it was a mess, but we keep going. So there is that internal fire, that why that keeps us going. So very often for my clients, I have them reinforce for me, what's in it for you? Why do you want to do this?
Yeah. Well, let me share with you. It's so funny that you bring up this riding a bike analogy because one of my clients just literally last week, she is terrified of any kind of sales outreach. And so she musters up the courage. She puts all of her resources, all of her mindset, all of her every hope and dream, and she makes one call. One.
Wow.
And then she comes back and says, well, man, that did not go the way that I wanted. They didn't have my fee. They didn't seem that interested. And I just don't know if this is going to work. And I was like, so let's see. This is a data set of one outreach and one conversation. I said, if you're getting discouraged after literally one outreach and one conversation, by the way, one outreach leading to one conversation, you're already batting 1,000, right? Usually it's let's do 5 outreaches to have one conversation with somebody and see if they want to go to the next step.
Yeah.
So she reached out once. She has one conversation and she says, man, I just don't know. Now, here's the funny thing about getting back on the bike. She got back on the bike. She made a second call. The second prospect was very interested. Oh, I'd love to talk to you more. We have an event coming up. This would be fantastic. Casey, do you know the email she sent? She said, the second prospect, they were interested. Like, this might even happen. And then she says in the email, WTH. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Do you think this would actually work if I made a third phone call? You got to get on the bike every single freaking day.
You really do. You really do.
What do you say to that person who has, the one call, it doesn't work out, and she's the worst person in the world, and I'm terrible, I'm a failure, I'm a miserable, terrible person, makes a second call, oh my gosh, I've hit the jackpot, this person might be a green light, this person wants to go to the next step. We have to get off that emotional roller coaster, no?
Yeah, we do. And we have to realize that the next best time to make a call is when you've had a successful call. So keep doing it. And I help them connect the dots. What was it that you ever had to do in your life that was challenging, that took grit, but you just kept going? I really have them tangibly connect to that. And then they say, oh, yeah, that's right. When I learned to drive, driving a stick shift, I was horrible. I said, okay, so what happened? How'd you get better? You went out with your mom every afternoon at 4:30. Well, guess what? This is no different.
Yeah.
So good for you, because that was great coaching for your client. And I hope she has a lot more success. I mean, if she stays on the bike, she will.
I mean, even think about the analogy of riding a bike, the skin knees, the banged elbows, the crying, I banged my helmet on the ground. It hurts. I scraped my ear. Yeah, it's ugly, man. It's ugly. It hurts. And there's some blood when you're learning the system.
Yes.
Once you learn how to ride the bike, you're still going to hit the curb. You're still going to maybe once in a blue moon fall off. You're still going to maybe, God forbid, get hit by a falling limb or something. Some random tree branch falls on your head. But generally, it's going to be okay.
Yes.
And you're generally going to get there to your destination of where you're going on the bike. But if you never get the skin knees and the banged elbows and the scrapes, you're never going to go fast. You're never going to get anywhere.
And the way you're putting it, it reminds me of being a kid and learning to ride a bike. Part of the challenge is that we are grown-ups and we're taking on something new. So you've got all of this ego and self-esteem wrapped into this, and people don't want to look bad and they don't want to feel stupid. We've got all that to contend with as well when we're working with adults.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first part of selling. When we first hop on the bike, we're first kind of, wobbly, going down with the training wheels, maybe prospecting. What are some mindset and confidence and systems that you really believe in when it comes to prospecting and initially getting into some doors that might be open for us?
Yes. As an introvert, and this is not only for introverted people, this is for everyone. I'm saying for me, I had to feel uber prepared, almost over prepared before I would have a conversation. So for normal people out there, if you do some research and you do some advanced homework, you're going to feel fantastic in terms of your confidence. Why is that? Because when you research your potential client's industry, or even in researching who they are, their website, their LinkedIn, you're going to get some insights. And those insights can be the launching pad for your sales dialogue. Certainly knowing about their industry will give you an idea of, what's going on. Is it an industry right now that's expanding? Is it growing like wildfire? Is it contracting? Are they having trouble with fees or unions or whatever? You need to know that so that you can come in and bring insight. Very often your opening sentence will set the tone for the entire interaction. So I like to say that, do your homework and then be prepared to set the agenda. Where is this going? I've gone, David, on a lot of ride-alongs when I was a sales leader, and the best sales interactions ever were the ones where the sales professional said, okay, our last time we spoke, we talked about this, this, and this. I've done some research. I have a sense as to what your goals are. Here's where we can go. Or if there's a direction that might be more valuable, then tell me now and let's go there.
Hey, this interview is a real moneymaker. If you're serious about ramping up your reach and revenue as a speaker, trainer, or expert, book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. It will be the most valuable 45 minutes you invest in your speaking-driven business. Speaking of value, let's get back to the show. I love what you said about dialogue, that it is a dialogue. It's not a diatribe or it's not a data dump. It's a dialogue. What do you see and what do you teach your clients as far as the role of questions, the kinds of questions that we need to ask in that early phase of prospecting?
Yeah. So in the early phase of prospecting, we certainly want to ask questions about goals, about revenue, about success, depending on the time of year. Like right now, we're in the last quarter. Where are they? Are they happy with where they are? What's missing? What is it that I might be able to bring in terms of value that helps get them, boost them up, and get them over the hump? Questions are really important. What I find the most important questions are, I call them consequence questions. Those are the ones that really get them thinking and connecting the dots. So if there's a problem in one area, it's very rare that that's an isolated area where something's gone wrong. It's usually impacting something else along the line, right? Very often business owners aren't really looking at the big picture because they're putting out a fire here or they're rushing here. My role as consultant is to come in and say, I'm noticing something is broken over here. What impact does that have on your operation over here? How much is that costing you? Time, energy, money, personnel? Is that a significant amount of leakage for you to act upon it? So we need to be asking these cause and effect type questions and then tie them into the money, the bottom line. Some business owners might say, well, you know what? That's not really significant to me. Okay, then maybe you don't have a sale. But isn't it important to know that than to keep going down the garden path and thinking you got a sale?
And sometimes when you minimize the problem, you go, well, that doesn't sound like it's a big problem at all. Then they go, no, well, hang on. It's not a small problem either. And then they'll bring you back into the conversation.
Yeah. And, we may have our own opinions about how big or how small something is. The most effective thing I could do is to say, 15,000, is that a significant amount for you? Meanwhile, frankly, if that happened to me, I'd be freaking out. Oh my God. Ah! But for them, that might not be a lot of money. So we need to understand how they think. That's what the research will help you do. It helps you sit on the other side of their desk, as I call it. What's it like being them? What's it like having their issues and problems? And now you get more insight. So you help them just sew it all up, connect those dots.
Absolutely right. Do you think that with introverts, especially, and people that are afraid of the sales process, and like my client that I was just sharing with you, like I made one call, they didn't buy. Are people afraid when they have to talk a lot? Or have you also met people that are even afraid of asking questions? Or do you feel that the questions, when you say, listen, this is all about asking smart questions and then shutting up, does that take a lot of pressure off the salesperson then?
That's a really good question because when I first started out, asking questions was my worst skill. I grew up in a household where children did as they were told, and it was impolite to question an adult. So, guess how useful that was as I went out and tried to be a sales consultant? Not so much. I was afraid to ask questions. I was getting over the fear of talking because I was learning that I was bringing value. Again, I was with this company that did all this excellent training. So you do have to get comfortable with both. As a sales professional, as a sales consultant, as a leader, you need to be ready to lead that interaction. So that's where your research comes in, your posture, your belief in yourself that what you have has value. Maybe this is something that ebbs and flows day by day, but that's where the mindset comes in. The mindset can be, I know this is good. I know this has value. My former clients have given me testimonials that it works. You need something to hang your hat on so you can continue to build and go and have those conversations. Practice the questions. I like to say, if you're meeting with someone in aerospace, well, then by golly, find a colleague or someone who knows someone in aerospace so you can practice. So that way, your questions will land. You've had some experience talking with someone in that industry if you're not familiar with that industry.
Yeah. And I think the preparation step also diffuses some of the big landmines. Like if you walk in with no research and no preparation about the industry, the company, nothing, it's always the salesperson that comes in. So, what do you guys do around here? And immediately the eyes start to roll and they're like, we got to get this person out of our office as soon as possible because they're wasting our time. And if you come in with the preparation and the customization and the smart questions focused on them and their problems, like you said, their goals, their situation, their obstacles, their heartaches, their headaches, their challenges, their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations, they're never going to get tired of talking to you. They'll
Oh my
talk to you about that stuff all day long, right?
all day long. They've originally said they had a half hour, then, an hour and a half later, you're realizing, wow, I'm still here. This must be valuable.
Right.
What you just said is so poignant. I did a presentation on Friday and cited a statistic from Inc. magazine that up to 70% of sales professionals walk in unprepared. There is no excuse. We have Google. We have websites. We have smartphones. When I first came up in the industry, I had those 3x5 cards that the
Yes.
previous rep had given me, or a big binder that they transferred with all of their intel from their own lens and their own filter. Now we've got so many resources. There's no excuse for walking in unprepared. Even if you only have 5 minutes and you have your smartphone, at least look at their LinkedIn before you go in there. Because if by doing that, you may hit on that one nugget that saves the day that you can bring up in your opening salvo, and it launches a really powerful discussion. But I
Yeah.
say, please, if you've been doing that, please don't do that anymore. We have so many tools at our fingertips. We really, we need to be the smart people. We need to be the people who get them thinking, get the thoughts percolating so that they say, hey, you know what? This is a valuable discussion. I do want to keep talking to Casey about this.
And you know what? That you put your finger on something else that's really important, because initially we're talking about just prospecting in the early phase of prospecting, but for prospecting to get the second appointment, to get the third appointment, to get the ultimate meeting with the ultimate decision makers, to take this to the committee, to get a signature, to close the deal, to get the check, every one of those touch points, if they don't see the value in talking to you, that's where the sales process stalls. That's where you have the disappearing prospect syndrome. Saying, no, it was going so well, and now they won't return my calls, and now they won't return my emails. My emails go to a black hole because they realize, you know what? There's no more value in talking to this person.
Yes. And it's almost like the job interview process where we may have 3 or 4 interviews. I was always coached, get stronger with each of those meetings. This is no different. So you may have wowed them with the first meeting and they're anxious to have you come back. Well, when you come back, better believe that you bring some case studies with you that relate to their situation, that you are constantly relating to them, their situation, and the value. Get stronger, not weaker. And one thing that kind of helped me do this was to remember that the competition was always on my heels. And if I genuinely, in my bones, know that I have the solution that they're looking for, the value, and they like me, then I need to earn that sale, not my competition, me.
Yeah. When you find yourself sliding backwards, which I'm sure doesn't happen all that much these days, but when you find yourself sliding backwards and you're like, uh-oh, that third meeting wasn't quite as good as the second meeting. Wowed them in meeting number 1, really wowed them in meeting number 2. Third meeting, I was crunched for time. I didn't really prepare. I didn't bring a lot of new insights or a lot of new information. I didn't ask them for any new commitments in that third meeting. I might be losing my grip. What are some strategies, either before the call or by email, or how do you recover and get back into that position of strength? I'm not even saying that they're not willing to see you anymore, but you just have this little feeling like, wow, I didn't really bring my A game to that third meeting. How do you get back in the driver's seat?
Well, you know what? If I have built a good enough relationship to date, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to call. And I'm going to just put it all out on the table. I'm going to say, hey, look, I'm sensing that when I left you last time, perhaps it was a little shaky. And here's what I want to tell you to reinforce my position that I had earlier. You said you needed this. This is how I'm addressing that. I am hoping that I'm still in the running and that we can still continue the relationship that we've built on so far. Because you know what? People are way too smart. If you try to skirt anything or hide anything or sweep it under the rug, you are not representing yourself like the professional they want to do business with. They want someone honest, trustworthy, and open. And if I say, hey, you know what? I think I flubbed a little bit. That's not the impression I intended to leave with you. Then you know what? I've done my best. And at least I can go to sleep that night saying, I was honest. I had my integrity, my authenticity. I did my best. Let's just hope that I'm still in the running.
Wow, that is so powerful. I tell you, because it's about being willing to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
and it's about being totally transparent, and you're not faking it. There's no facade. There's no, oh, let's talk to the sales Casey and then let's talk to the real Casey. The real Casey is the sales Casey and the sales Casey is the real Casey, and hopefully the sales David is the real David, and you guys get the idea. But
Yeah.
you're being a human. You're being an approachable, vulnerable, imperfect human.
Mhm.
And I think that will probably win you more sales than anything else, doesn't it?
It does. And that was one of my early realizations when I thought I could never be good at sales because I'm not one of these crazy, ebullient, cheerleading extroverts. And then when I was good at it, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm good at it because I listen. I'm good at it because I'm honest. I'm good at it because when I make a mistake, I say, guys, I made a mistake. And here's how I'm going to make it right. And so it was me also learning that there were no disparate parts showing up. It was me. And that's so important. When we look at clients today, they don't want to feel as though they get one person who's seated before them and then somebody else. That they can smell that.
Right. For sure. Well, I want to talk about the other part of the sale where people tend to have a psychotic split, which is
Yes.
closing.
Yes.
And what you said about 70% or 80% don't even ask for the sale.
Oh,
They
please.
just kind of keep soft chewing around and,
Mhm.
well, maybe they'll buy. Maybe they'll just magically give me the order. They'll say, yeah, Casey, come on in and train our team. And it'll just occur to them spontaneously. How do we not lose our authenticity and our humanity? And what are some easy, comfortable ways, either a trial close or the real close, or what do you recommend when it comes time to ask for the business?
Well, I like to call it flexing your ask muscle. You got to flex, baby, and you got to get comfortable with asking. And I also do have a free book online at salescall911.com where I talk about this very thing. If you really stumble with the ask, get practice in everyday life. If you could be in a restaurant, it could be at the dry cleaners, push the envelope a little bit. What I also like to say when I work with clients is that if you've done everything right so far, your close is the easiest part of the game because it can be as easy as saying, wow, you know what? It really seems as though our meetings and prior discussions have been in really close alignment. Might it be appropriate at this point that we talk about how we work together? Boom. Guess what? That was a trial close. Or if they're saying yes, 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 all along, yes, 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 they're nodding. Why prolong it? Say, hey, well, you know what? It seems as though my solutions work for you. When would you like to get started? So we get all twisted and sweaty and bent out of shape with this because money means something to us. We're asking for a commitment, the check, whatever that might look like, and we get all freaked out. Whereas there's no need to get freaked out. Stay calm and simply ask them if they'd like to continue. Your close is a continuation of all the good work you've done so far, and it should be easy. Like holding your baby nephew and giving him a kiss and setting him down in his crib. It's simple, it's soft, it's easy. I think we have been taught or we've heard bad habits from old sales programming. Like this is where you got to wrestle people to the ground. And those cheesy closes where you pass the contract with your pen over to their side of the desk and say, would you like to sign this in blue or black ink? Believe it or not, I was taught that at one point. Yeah, cheesy stuff isn't going to work, but continue being you and simply ask for the business. If this really gets you nervous, practice. How might you say, hey, look, it seems as though we're in alignment. Would it make sense if we continued? Let's talk about how to work together. Easy, right? And breathe. Breathe, pause. Don't feel that you have to rush this because you're nervous. Just be you. Breathe.
Absolutely right. It reminds me of the Navy SEALs. Anyone who's got any sort of like emergency response training, police, fire people, when it hits the fan, what you'll notice physiologically, their breathing slows down. They take
Yeah,
nice, deep, long breaths. Their heart rate goes down instead of up. They
that's right.
relax into this situation where they can be alert, they can be responsive, they can respond appropriately,
Mhm.
not run away and not freak out and go crazy. We have to maintain that emotional control. And luckily, sales is a lot less risky than fighting fires or being cops or being Navy SEALs, but we have the same physiological response. People go, "Ah, ah, ah, ah."
Yeah.
They start hyperventilating into a
Yes.
brown paper bag. It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen is you're going to get a check right now.
It's so true. So maintain your posture. All of that good leadership that you've been doing so far, keep doing that because, again, they're looking to you for leadership. They need some help. So you don't want to freak out now.
Right, right. You're about to solve a big, beautiful problem and be of tremendous service to your brand new
Yeah.
client or customer.
Yes, yes. And another note is once you leave there with a commitment, an agreement, a signed check, and it's in your briefcase, wait until you're about a mile away to do the happy dance. Don't do the happy dance in the parking lot where they can see you.
Open up the curtain. They're looking out the window going, why
Yes,
is Casey doing that crazy happy dance on the way to her car?
yes, yes. Just, same posture and dignity. Get into your car and then get down the road and then do the woohoo.
Then start like smacking on the horn, turning the radio up, do all the stuff that you like to do.
That's it.
Excellent. Well, Casey Carpenter, I've got two questions for you. The second question is going to be, how do people get connected and stay connected to Casey World and all the great resources and the downloads and all that? First question, before I ask you that, if people were to take one central concept from our conversation today, what would you hope it would be?
The central concept I would want you to take is to cultivate your mind. Do not let weeds and funky stuff to grow in there. Don't listen to people who are negative, who don't believe in you. Stay positive and know that it can be a little bit of a grind, but stay the course. Keep moving forward.
So, Casey, how do people get connected and stay connected? We're going to put all these great resources in the show notes, but right now, just wet our whistle. What do you have for people?
Absolutely. They can visit me at caseycarpenter.net and download my free book at salescall911.com.
Awesome. And that'll be in the show notes, of course, folks. Keep your hands on the wheel. Don't get in any kind of crazy car accident. That is going to be waiting for you at thespeakingshow.com in the show notes for this episode, as always. Well, Casey Carpenter, thank you for being awesome. Thank you for being on with us. I cannot wait to have you back on the show.
Thank you. This has been fantastic because you know that I love you dearly, respect your work, and this was tremendous to have been invited.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.